Hey guys and gals, welcome back to the channel. Jay Anthony here. Hope you guys are having a great day. So one of those things that I've been thinking about for the last week or so as I'm reflecting on my time with my Rolex GMT Master, wristwatch check, and also what the video is going to be about, is I keep coming back to the thought of why would anybody buy a Rolex Submariner over this watch? So bear with me, this is going to be my opinion piece. I honestly think after having both watches for significant periods of time, my 16610 Submariner I had for 5 or 6 years, this GMT Master I've had for I think about 3 years. Over time, the GMT Master just has come along to make more sense to me as your everyday wristwatch. And in this video, I wanted to kind of give you a quick little update, but also why I genuinely think this is the better watch for most people. Now, before we get into all this, no hate, this isn't me to dump on the Submariner. The Submariner is a wonderful watch, as is the GMT Master. I just think for most people, the GMT Master offers the better value for the money and is the better everyday watch. So that's all it's gonna be about. Both watches are great, and if you're looking for me to bash the Submariner, this isn't the video for you. With all that said though, let's go ahead and just get started. The features on the GMT Master versus the Sub apply to all the current and prior GMT Masters and Submariners. And you know, right now we're looking at my vintage GMT Master. This watch is from '89. It's definitely got some patina and it's showing its age, but the features I'm going to call out here are the same differences you would notice between a current GMT Master and a current Submariner. Now, I did do a comparison between those two watches a couple years ago, but the purpose of this video is to point out why, for most people, I think the GMT Master is actually the better watch. And the first feature I'm going to call out is actually the width of the case. Now, if you watch that video, and I'll link it up above, you'll notice that the Submariner has a substantially thicker case. And when you pour it on the wrist, it's immediately apparent the much slimmer profile of the GMT Master. The GMT Master actually shares its case with the Explorer 2 as well on this generation. And the way this thing fits on the wrist, it's extremely comfortable. And I'm not saying that the Submariner isn't comfortable, but the extra bulk of that is definitely noticeable. This watch wears very similar to like an Omega Seamaster. You know, you notice it, but it contours the wrist well, it's very svelte, and it just doesn't have the same bulk that a Submariner does. And part of that is this watch has a lower depth rating. It's good to 100 meters, which to me, by and large, is more than anybody will ever really need anyway, because you are getting the standard Rolex Oyster case. And actually, you know, on the face of it, these two watches look very similar. But because of that, it's not quite as deep, and so it doesn't ride as high on the wrist. And also, because you're not using the trip lock crown like you have on the Sub, the crown is much more smaller in profile. And so the crown on the Sub is about, I'd say, 1.5 times the size of this crown. So because you don't have the trip lock, this crown isn't digging into the back of your wrist. And for some of you guys, not a huge deal, and I'm not going to say it is either, but I will definitely say wearability on the GMT Master with the smaller crown and the thinner case is noticeable. And if you guys get the chance to try them both on at an AD, I would highly recommend it because you will definitely notice that there is a comfort difference between the two watches. Now, beyond that, and what I think is the biggest selling feature of the GMT Master over the Submariner is the movement. So in this generation, the Submariner, you get a choice of 2 movements. You could get the 3035 without the date, or the equivalency of this one, the 3135 with the date. And the GMT Master, you got the 3185. And the difference in those 2 movements is you get the GMT feature, hence why it's called a GMT Master. The GMT feature gives you the ability to track a second time zone. It also gives you the feature of a bi-directional bezel. The Submariner has a unidirectional bezel just for timing events. This one can be rotated either direction. And it also gives you the ability to adjust the hour hand independently of setting the watch, which to me is my favorite feature of this watch, and it's so convenient I can't even begin to explain. So the first feature again though is that you have the GMT hand. This is not something you can ever get on a Submariner. And as you can see right now, I'm able to track both my home time zone and a second time zone. So right now locally it is 11 o'clock in the morning, and in London right now it is 1700. And so if you travel a lot or you talk a lot to people in other countries or different time zones, being able to quickly tell both your home time and a distant time zone is extremely useful. And I use this all the time to keep track of multiple time zones as I do a lot of traveling for work. Additionally, you can use the bi-directional bezel to alter and track another time zone independently. So you could actually track up to 3 different time zones with this watch. You can, of course, also set this to the minute hand, which is over here, by setting the triangle there. And then, you know, every one of these that the minute hand passes, you've elapsed 5 minutes. So you can use it as a standard timing feature as well, like you would use on the Submariner. And as I mentioned, it is bi-directional, so you can rotate it either direction. So I really find the GMT hand helpful, especially if you're in traveling. And the feature that I love about this movement that I already briefly mentioned, though, is the ability to set the hour hand independently. And this, again, is something that the Submariner does not do as of this video. Omega's actually introduced this feature, and I've shown it on my Seamaster videos, but this to me is just an awesome feature. The only other Rolex that does this that I can think of off the top of my head is the Explorer 2, which I also own. So if you pull it out to second position, what's great is now you can see I can set the hour hand independently without having to stop the second hand or to readjust the time. So for example, let's say I'm in Seattle right now and I want to go to New York City. Well, New York City is 3 time zones ahead. Rather than having to stop the watch and take the time to reset it, all I need to do is pull the crown out to the second position and go 1, 2, 3. And there you go. I have now been able to track my second time zone, and I've adjusted it to local time. So if I'm, you know, flying from Seattle to New York or vice versa, a couple flicks of my fingers and I'm able to jump time zones that quickly. And as someone who spent most of last year flying back and forth on airplanes and having to constantly reset my watch, the ability to quick set a watch for different time zones, to me, is a massively convenient feature. Now, you know, unlike your smartphone, your watch is not going to automatically adjust to the new time zone, so making it convenience easy. With a Submariner, you'd have to pull the crown all the way out, stop it from ticking, and then literally set the watch ahead or behind depending on the time zones you're traveling to. So these are the features that I think really make the GMT Master the better watch for most people. And just to kind of again reiterate those is, with the GMT Masters, you're getting the smaller profile case, which to me is more comfortable on the wrist. That also includes the smaller crown. You're getting the bi-directional bezel, which allows you more flexibility in timing events. It also gives you the ability to track another time zone, which is convenient. Additionally, you're getting the GMT hand, and on top of that, you're getting the adjustable hour hand independent of setting the watch. To me, for most people, unless you really need to dive 1,000 feet, and if you do need to dive 1,000 feet, odds are you're not using a Submariner, odds are you're using a dive computer. This is the better watch for most people. And I also just happen to like the playfulness of the multicolored bezel. So there you go, guys. If you're really looking for a Submariner, I would highly challenge you to take some time to look at the GMT Master, and I actually would suggest you look at the Explorer 2 as well, because I think you will find these may actually be the better watch for you. So with all that said, guys, let's go ahead and just jump back. All right, guys, so there you go. There's a quick little take on why I think probably the GMT Master is the better watch for you. You know, as you've seen, this really is the watch for me. The livability of it, you know, the quick set of the hour hand, the GMT hand, the thinness profile of the case, just the overall wearability and usability on this watch just does it for me. I also, of course, am partial to the 2-colored bezel. So I don't know, guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you really think that I'm crazy here? I mean, am I crazy? It's possible. Help me understand why a Submariner may actually be the better choice here. Where have I gone wrong? Let me know. As always, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Speaking of, with the GMT Master in mind, I am looking forward to going checking out the Tudor Pepsi. Hopefully this week, actually, my friends at Bernard Watch have invited me to check out one they have in stock. I have a feeling I'm actually probably going to like it a lot. So stay tuned for that, because I hope to get that video up on the channel very soon. So let's say, guys, again, really long outro. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.